Welcome to today's video tutorial where we will be building a maze game from scratch using Java. This game will challenge your programming skills while also being fun to create. Let's dive right in. Before we start coding, let's discuss the game's objectives and features. The player will navigate through a maze, trying to reach the exit while avoiding obstacles. We'll also implement a scoring system for added fun. Firstly, we need to set up our development environment. Make sure you have Java Development Kit, JDK, installed and an IDE of your choice, such as IntelliJ IDEA or Eclipse. Create a new Java project in your IDE. Let's name our project Maze Game. Keep the default package structure as it helps in organizing our files. Our first task is to define the grid for the maze. We will use a 2D array to represent the maze. Each element will be either a wall or an empty space. In the maze class, we initialize our maze grid. Next, we will implement the logic to generate the maze layout. This can be done using a depth-first search algorithm. Let's add a recursive function for that. Next, let's implement the carvePath function. This function will choose a random direction to move and then recursively call itself to carve a path through the maze. Now that we have the maze generated successfully, let's visualize it in the console. We'll add a method to print the maze to the console. Let's test what we have so far by creating a main method that initializes the maze and prints it. Create a new class named main. Now run your program. You should see a maze printed in the console consisting of walls and pathways. Remember, different runs will generate different mazes. The next step is adding player movement. We'll create a player class to handle player properties such as position and movement methods. In the player class, we define methods to move the player. Next, we need to add movement controls. We'll implement key listeners for capturing user input. We have implemented the key listeners for handling player movements. Next, we'll need to set up a window using Swing to display the maze and the player's position visually. Once we have our game display set up, we will need to trigger redraws of the maze whenever the player moves. Implement the display logic within the game class. The next feature to implement is a goal to complete the maze. We will define a goal class that will represent the endpoint of the maze. Now, let's create an instance of the goal in our game class. We'll also check for collisions with the goal during each player move. At this point, our maze game is starting to come together. We've added a player, established movement, and set up a goal. Next, let's implement a scoring system based on the time taken to reach the goal. Incorporating music or sound effects can further enhance your maze game. We can use Java's audio clip class for sound effects. Go ahead and create a sound effect class. Now we can play sounds when the player moves or reaches the goal. Call the sound effect methods appropriately within the game class. We are almost at the finish line. Let's enhance our maze by adding random obstacles that the player must navigate around. Update the maze generation to include some obstacles. Now, let's implement restarting the game after finishing a run. Provide the player feedback and allow them to restart the maze. Finally, let's enhance the user interface to display the player's current score, time taken, and simply improve the aesthetics. You can adjust colors and layout in the game display class. Congratulations! You have now built a fully functional maze game in Java. From generating the maze to handling player movement and incorporating a scoring system, you've tackled a lot of coding concepts. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more Java programming tutorials. Let us know in the comments what game you would like us to create next.